Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Who wants to open us up today?
Oh, yeah, man, I forgot all about it. You know, I got something. I got something for you.
Okay.
All right.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وما بعده قال تعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قالت إحداهما يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. That Allah said in Surah Al-Qasas that talking about Musa alayhi salam when after he had watered the flock of the two women who were holding their sheep back, when the men were watering their flock, the two women of Median who were watering their flock and they were not able to water their sheep. Musa alayhi salam basically got their sheep, took their sheep for them, and basically deboed his way up to the front with their sheep and watered them for them. Okay, and then he brought their sheep back and sent them on their way. And so that ayah is when one of the women who, after Musa came and told their father the story, I know I'm skipping a lot of parts, but just for tonight's episode, this one ayah is that after they came and told their father about Musa alayhi salam, one of the other women said, Ya abatista jirhu, O Abi, father, hire him. In the best person to hire is the one who is strong, qawiyul amin, and trustworthy. And these are the traits that you want to look for: someone who is capable, strong, strength, who is capable of doing the job that is needed to be done, and they are trustworthy. You can trust them and trust them with the subject matter or whatever it is they're needing to deal with. So Musa alayhi salam, as we know, as the story goes, whether it was the out of the two young ladies, out of the one who said to hire him, maybe it was her, perhaps most likely it was her, but Allah knows best. But he actually wound up marrying one of the young ladies who was urging their father to hire him due to the qualities that he had. So in tonight's show, it is also going to be dealing with the qualities of men in which you should be not necessarily hiring them, but you are actually looking to for them to be able to do a job for you, which is to be a husband, for the women to be a husband, or what type of husband you will be looking for. But today's episode is going to really center around what type of man you should be trying to avoid, or at least it's going to seem that way. So Allah knows best, but we will try to shed some light on that situation, and hopefully the account of Musa and how he wound up getting married, in which they selected him, or they looked at him as a great candidate to hire, and also the father saw him as a great candidate to marry, because he was not only very capable physically, but he was very trustworthy as well. So with that said, you can go and take it away, Sheikh, or Ustad, or whatever you want to be called. Brother.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Right.
Welcome to another
Walaikum
installment
assalam.
of the R2F show. And we're going to talk the last show we had, we talked about characteristics, negative characteristics of women you should try to stay away from in marriage. And of course, we're going to cover the men in this episode, and talk about the type of men that women should stay away from. And what we did is not just coming from a man's perspective. We had some sisters put some input together, get some stuff together, and compile a list of different types of men that women should stay away from. So we're just gonna get right into it and pull up this list and start going through it and give our commentary from from our perspective. So this is 10 men to avoid marrying. The first on the
and
list.
also, if I can
Yep.
just throw something in as we go, and
Mhm.
we'll try to remind the people as some people come in, if we can, that are watching or listening, is that especially from the ladies, we would like some comments, or heck, even if one of them wants to call in, that would be perfect, to
Mhm.
kind of give maybe some more context as to the reasons why, or maybe some experiences as to why some of these people would be bad to, or some people that you should avoid marrying, because of course we're all men. For all we know, we could be one of these dudes, but for the women, and maybe they could shed some light on more so on what would be the some of the reasons why these people, or a little bit more context of the reasons why these types are on the list of people you should avoid marrying. So go ahead, Chef.
We're on the other list, the men to marry.
Oh, are we? Oh,
Yeah, right.
We're on the other. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, definitely. We're on the list. Depends on who you ask.
Yeah. Our wives can't vote.
You know.
They biased. So the first one we have on the list is Rashid. The Rashid is a dayuth. And if anybody knows what this term means, if in Arabic, in Arab culture, like that's like a curse word. That's like calling somebody, I guess, in like in American culture, like a mother effer, or like whatever bad word you can think of that someone's gonna totally get offended by, right? And this person doesn't have any gaira. And what gaira is a care is basically like a protective jealousy that all men have over their women, whether it's their wives, their mothers, their sisters, their daughters. It's just protective nature of men. Like we all naturally should have that. Some have it more than others.
Yeah.
If anybody knows anything about Umar radiallahu anh, is he had the most gaira. He had so much gaira that Rasul Sallallahu was in Jannah. And he was shown Umar's palace in Jannah, and Rasul Sallallahu didn't like he didn't go in because he would have like seen like Umar's like his horis and his servants and all these different, and he knew the protective jealousy that Umar had, so he didn't even go inside of his house in Jannah. And that's Rasulullah Sallallahu. So this person is a dayuth. And if you see the hadith there, Abdullah ibn Umar, who is the son of Umar, reported that Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu said, 3 people will not enter paradise, and Allah will not look to them on the day of judgment. The one who is disobedient to his parents, the woman who imitates men, and the dayuth. And there's different characteristics of a dayuth, like they don't make their wife cover. Sometimes they're referred to as that term, like a cuckold, like their wives just run the household and do everything, which is another person on this list. But they don't protect their wives. They let their wives like intermingle with men, talk with men, all whatever you can think of.
Yeah. So I think maybe if because I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I didn't even know what the word meant until recently, as far as the word that you use, a cuckold. And I heard it. You know how you I've heard it many times, and I know it's something derogatory, but I never felt the need to look up like exactly what it meant. I just knew like if someone was like being like a weak like dude, people called him a cuck.
Yeah.
So I just that's just how I knew, but actually know the term, what it means. And let's just to clean it up a bit, it's a person that would not only would not mind seeing his wife with another man, but would enjoy it. Actually
encourages it.
So that's kind of what the youth is like, wrapped up into that type of person. So and this type of people that the hadith says that Allah won't even look at on the day of judgment. So it's like you should have you should have some, it's not chauvinistic or controlling or whatever, if a man is like, sees what his wife is dressing or whatever, and if whatever you like to look at on your wife or about your wife, if you're seeing that kind of like looking good as you go out or whatever, I mean, except for what she can't help, then for you to be like, I think I want you to wear a little something else, or switch this up a bit, or hey, stop right there, young lady, let's put let's put a jacket over top of that or something, then that is that's actually not only is it commendable, but it's actually rewardable for the man. And it's a man who is not who does not ever, actually, if he does not ever look at the way that you are dressing, and speaking to the women, if he does not ever look at the way that you're dressing and have a little jealousy about, hey, how about let's try to switch this up a bit, or at least like be concerned about how you're dressing and how good you are looking like in front of other people, then that's not a good trait. Oh, my husband he doesn't say anything as you're just looking dazzling and shining, and just has everyone around you like drooling.
Yeah.
Your husband should not like this. He should not enjoy it. Actually, it should make him very uncomfortable, angry, and he should be trying to basically keep you to himself. That's the type of man that you want. This Rashid, as he is named, and not every person named Rashid is this, but just for the purpose of this thing, this is the type of person that you want to avoid, because if he doesn't have that strong jealousy for you, and not wanting people to have the type of enjoyment, whether even if it's just looking, or some even conversations that might go into some area where it's not appropriate, that's only for him. And if he doesn't mind that, you might say, well, what's the point? I'm a strong, independent, modern woman. Okay, but that's the type of person that perhaps, quite probably, if you're in a situation where you really need to be defended, well, this guy is going to be like, most likely,
Yep.
All right, maybe he might say, hey, stop, or take it easy, that's not nice or nothing.
Could you please stop talking bad to my wife?
Yeah, he's probably, yeah, I can't even,
Yeah, so
I'm not going to that, but yeah, that's the thing. You definitely, that's one of the many reasons why this is the type of person that you don't want to marry. Now, my question would be, how would you know? Because we have not, and that's why I want the input from the ladies, because we didn't compile this list. We let the ladies kind of compile the list and put them on there. But my question is, before you marry a guy, how would you know? I mean, maybe you would know if he has other wives. So you would look at how his wives are dressing, or his wives, how, and then you would say, well, this guy has a wife or two or three, and he wants to marry me as well. And I'm looking at, the way that his wives are dressing, and that's not really appropriate for my taste. And so that would be a person that you would want to avoid. I would say that's one way. But as far as women are concerned, if the brother is single and he doesn't have a wife or has never been married before, then how would you know? Is my question. Maybe someone can answer that later. If not, then we'll circle back around, and we can provide the answer, inshallah.
inshallah.
All right. And we have or Hassan is al mutadi', or an abuser. And got a nice picture of Ike Turner there. So he's very judgmental. He's physically and verbally abusive until he realizes that she has no more self-esteem left in her. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever harms others, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will harm him. And whoever causes hardship to other, Allah will cause hardship to him. His wife, Aisha radiallahu anha, said, Rasulullah never beat anyone with his hand, neither a woman nor a servant, but only in the case when he had been fighting in the cause of Allah, and he never took revenge for anything unless the things made inviolable by Allah were made viable. He then took revenge for Allah, the exalted and glorious. So yeah, we know this as men. We should know this, that we're not allowed to be abusive. We're not allowed to beat our wives. Some people take that hadith of we have our protocol as far as how we discipline or deal with wise behavior, and the last step is it says beat them, but that's taken out of context. We're not allowed to physically hurt our wives or beat them in the context that as we understand what beating means in our Western society. So, but I like what you said, Mubarak, about do you know this, because you're not if you're looking to get married to somebody, he's not going to be beating people up in front of you. He's going to be, these type of people are especially on their best behavior during that courting period.
Mhm.
So so that's a good thing to think about when we talk about all of these, is like, because we're talking about people not to marry, not people who not to stay married too, because this is something you wouldn't find out until after you're married, unless you look at maybe family history. Unless you look at, like, maybe some of their demeanor. I don't know, if you go to a if you went and seen them in a different setting and see that they're a person that can't control their anger. Maybe you talk to his sisters, maybe you definitely talk to like his ex-wives if he has ex-wives. Those are some things that you could do.
Or I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people, and I'll preface this by saying, but the law is a witness. Some of the very best brothers that I know, I'm talking about the very best brothers that I know. I mean, I would trust them with my life, my bank account. I mean, just about everything. And they have been to jail, and prison, for a long time. They did years, hard time, and they're out now. But one of the things, I mean, one of the things, I mean, if, for instance, if a brother's gone to jail for, when he was non-Muslim and he became Muslim in jail, but maybe he was in jail for, tax evasion. All right. That's one thing.
Right.
Maybe he was in jail for, drug trafficking. All right. Now if he was in jail for, armed robbery, assault and battery, manslaughter, then, I mean, so that maybe that would give you pause. But I say that to say there's I mean, I know some people that have been to jail for everything. I'm talking about murder, triple murder, and everything in between. And wallahi, they're some of the best people that I have ever come in contact with, and they are they're extraordinary human beings as far as I know. So even that would be hard to tell. I mean, that goes back to the hadith of Umar. Well, actually, I think it's just a saying of Umar radiallahu anhu, and he said, "You never know a person unless you travel with them, right? You live with them, or you do business with them." And basically, when you marry someone, you're going to be doing all three of those pretty much with the person. And that's when the only time where you will really know a person. There has been plenty of times, I mean, that, people have had a lot of assumptions about one person or another. And when they got married, it was, the person they married, they had a completely different experience with them. So you never really know. I think that even for number one and number two, I feel like they're kind of things that if you are married to this person, then you probably have a decision to make. But it would be very hard to know this type of person, whether or not you should marry them or not, unless they already have at least one wife, and then you can look at how they are dealing with them in that way, and then you can make that decision. Should I marry this brother who has a wife already? Well, she is always in and out of the ER with a broken bone or a black eye or something like that. Now, I will say, and this was a show really probably should have been done by the ladies actually, and we should have like a lady should have hosted this show, and then we could have asked them questions like because when they say he is very judgmental, I mean one of the husband's jobs is to be judgmental about the goings on in his house. Now if you mean judgmental like in a negative way, as far as just being
can't do anything right.
Yeah, something like that, then I get it. But as far as, giving his commentary or opinion on whatever the goings on are under his roof. I think that's within the scope. It's definitely within the scope. Now, there, of course, there's a way to do it. So that's a little, I don't really know how to deal with that one. But if he's physically and verbally abusive, then that is a relationship that a person that a woman can seek to get out of.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a person that you should not marry if you already know. Unless, hey, listen, but some people actually like all of these things. They actually like them.
Well, that's
yeah,
that's
they like
true.
I'm not even kidding. There are some women who literally have said they got a khula from their husband and got a new husband because the first husband was too nice and he would not rough her up or hit her or anything. Like she would try to start. I'm serious.
Daddy issues.
She would start arguments and she would start arguments with him in order for him to kind of get angry with her because she liked it.
Well, it's like that the what is it, the Joker and what's his girlfriend's name there? You're on mute. I can't.
I didn't know the Joker had a girlfriend.
Yeah, he has a girlfriend, but they pretty much like
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. There you go.
Yeah.
They pretty much like try to kill each other, and then like that's their thing. Like
they're in love. Yeah,
get off on like that toxic. Like there are people and I've seen couples like that. Like they go through these fighting, showing up at each other's jobs, destroying each other's property, and then afterwards they're like, it's like the bet, like they're totally in love after that, and it's like
they're insane.
There definitely are some. They are, you'd be surprised, but they like to be talked to a certain way, not in public, but they like to be talked to very sternly, and they like it. They want a person. Maybe they were previously married to someone who was just so weak and wimpy, maybe like the first guy. And so they want someone who's the complete opposite and really is going to like, even I've seen in some of the things where a lady will on purpose, try to go out of the house with her husband in something that she's not dressed appropriately, maybe some tight pants and, a blouse just kind of showing her cleavage or a figure or just something like that, to where he would grab her by the arm and be like, where do you think you're going, X, Y, and kind of reprimand her. And she said she loved it. Like she liked the fact that he was like very, very like protective and jealous about anybody seeing, what she had going on. So so with this,
but one thing I want to say with these two things is the importance of having especially for women, having your wali, like your father, your brothers, be there and be them involved in this process, because there's things, a good friend said to me, never take the advice of a woman in regards to these things. So, and there's a lot of merit to that, because there's certain things that a guy, and especially like an experienced man, like will be a father or an older brother or something like that, will be able to sit down and have a 30-second conversation with another man and kind of know everything he's about.
Yep.
No matter what front he's putting on, like we all know the games. We all know there's just certain things that will just, red flags will come up with like, yeah, that guy probably is going to beat the crap out of you when you get married. Mm-hmm. Or that guy is going to let you dress however you want and not give it. Like there's just things, and there won't be any like, it's just unspoken language that goes on that a woman, whether it's your mother, your auntie or whatever, will never be able to see. And they'll be like, oh, he's so great. He's such a great guy and blah, 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 blah. But all the men like, nah, don't marry that man.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have some people and I've even heard some people talk about friends of theirs in which their husbands would tell them that they should, when they have guests over and things like that, they should wear their nicest clothes and wear makeup and really look nice, smell nice or whatever, because their they're basically they're clout chasers, and they're using the
Mhm.
wife for clout. They want the men who come over, and they'll have their wife to serve the men, right?
Yeah.
Looking nice, smelling great, just like, and so they're like, man, he's with her. Wow, I mean, that's nice. So that he can get, you know, an ego boost out of the deal, instead of saying, no one's gonna see. So that's a type of person that they need other people to validate whatever they have going on. And if no one, you know, it's like some people, they don't want their wife to wear niqab. They don't want their wife to dress modestly because they want people to know, wow, she's got this going on. This is what she looks like, you know? So yeah, this is what I'm with, you know?
What do you think about this test for the Dayuth? So
Mhm.
if you're sitting down with somebody,
Mhm.
right? You're a lady sitting down with somebody, ask them how they feel about double dates and see what their answer is. If they're like, oh yeah, let's do it.
Nah,
This
fam.
might be a
Nah.
red flag.
Man,
All right,
like,
so let's
You know.
let's run through these because we gotta
Okay.
we got like 8 more, I think. So
oh my God.
Abdul the Fool. Okay, he's an Ahma. Abdul is well known for constantly having casual conversations, exchanges with women, always gaming some poor woman, and considers himself a Casanova. Rasulullah SAW said,
So
the son of Adam's share of zina has been decreed for him, which he will inevitably get. The zina of the eyes is looking, the zina of the ears is listening, the zina of the tongue is speaking, the zina of the hands is touching, and the zina of the foot is walking. The heart longs and wishes, and the private part confirms that or denies it. That's in Sahih Muslim. Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, said, none of the poets see anything wrong with talking to, addressing, or looking at non-mahram women, but this is contrary to Islam and common sense, and it is exposing oneself to temptation. How many people have been affected in this way with regard to their religious commitment and worldly affairs? So,
oh my
yeah,
God.
this is your stereotypical, what they call nowadays the F boy. That's
But anyone that does a lip bite is clearly in an F word. Like this person right here, right. Listen, he might hop through a window in a trailer for all we know. All right, like
yeah. No, I'm gonna give y'all a practical example from our lives that you all know this dude. And I mean, maybe at some point in time, everybody was this dude a little bit, but
Right.
like you expect like teenagers, like 13, 14, 15 to kind of be like this. But if this dude is in his 20s, 30s, maybe, sometimes even 40s, this guy, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. Say if there's a ladies retreat, he's always going to be the one on security, like securing the ladies. Say if there's an Eid or something, he's always the one that kind of always is positioned somewhere where he has to interact or be seen by the ladies. He's got his sunglasses, he's got his, you know, might have his kufi cocked to the side or whatever. He's always in position, very helpful. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go help Aunt so and so with, you know, XYZ, and he's always always around, ready. This is the type of guy that I think of, and he always has, and you know, the older aunties or whatever always praising him for being so helpful, whatever the case may be. And he's just always ready to, you know, to be
appear the ladies' side
and see, you know, the ladies. And he's always got someone who he is about to have a sit down with or talking to, you know. It's always, you know, he's perpetually engaged or thinking about a sit down, or his sisters and these people are trying to set him up with people, but he's always kind of, you know, in and out of some sort of, you know, almost relationship. This type of
thought. It's crazy.
Yeah. And this could be married people as well. Like I've seen it where they'll have a wife, but they're perpetually seeking polygamy. They're having but they never actually do it. They just have sit down after sit down. Yeah, I'm thinking about getting a second wife, you know, leave the lady on. They talk for months and months and this and that. And then for some reason, oh yeah, my wife said I couldn't do it. They never really had intentions on doing it. They just wanted the attention. They wanted to feel someone to feel, you know, that whole insecurity thing.
And coveted. So
wild behavior. Exactly. Yeah. You know, and I mean, I've seen individuals where, you know, like for instance, if you're working in retail and like a male customer comes up and, you know, they're all dry, real dismissive. The female customer walks in the store. It's like they're busting jokes, they're all lively body language, and it's like, and a good one with this is females could recognize this very well, right? Like when you see a guy that no matter what, when a female comes around or a woman comes around, excuse me, they call them like they're extra Joe. They're extra like talkative. They're extra like they want to just like, why are you all in my face? Why are you trying to talk to me? And they're the same guy that, when you go to say Burger King or Starbucks or whatever, and you get a coffee and the cashier's like, oh, have a nice day. And they walk away and they're like, yeah, she likes me.
She like me. Yeah.
No, she was giving you good customer
Nah,
service.
she's just doing her job, man.
Yeah,
Like,
usually it's a dude. It's either a pretty boy, like literally he's legit, just a handsome dude. He is like women think he's pretty, or it's a dude that women don't even think is pretty, but he thinks women.
He's ultra confident. Yes, those be the ones.
It's always one extreme or the other. It's never just a dude that's like, okay, he's average. No, it's either the dude that women don't like him at all, but somehow he thinks all of them like him, or it's a dude that legit he's just pretty, but that's all he is. He's just a pretty dude. But
I heard something like, don't if he's a personal trainer,
don't do it. Yep, he a thought.
Don't do it.
Yeah, he definitely a thought.
One, he's broke. He ain't making no money. And two, that like he's just trying to be a thought. That's what he's doing. Right.
Darkest
he ain't
timeline
training
for
no
him.
Men.
Oh,
right,
guaranteed.
So for the next one.
All right.
All right. We have Khalid the
Imran.
All right. Well, he says he's the woke misogynist, and he may be worse than a misogynist. He's the one giving speeches, posting on Instagram about gender equality. He feels that Islam calls for a reform, and instead of putting people in their proper places, he finds it okay for the women to take on the role of men and vice versa. He's the cousin of Abdullah. It was narrated by Ibn Abbas, that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he cursed men who imitate women and women who imitate men. Well, that's good. We're going to be talking about that in 2 weeks, inshallah. Yep. So what they call it nowadays, a simp?
Yeah, simp? I mean, they call this a simp, and like the dudes who are the SJWs, they're freaking justice warriors for the women, and they go on this whole spree. This is funny because I was in a clubhouse room with Hanif, and he was giving a speech on like marriage and stuff, right? And this dude came in, right? He was talking to Hanif about how his views are wrong, right? And he was talking about like how you're supposed to get married and stuff. He was like, actually, I don't believe in marriage because a woman doesn't need men to get married. And he was like, dude, why are you here then? This is a room about marriage. Like the dude was in here grabbing going about how Hanif is wrong. It's like, oh yeah, I don't even believe in marriage because women are queens. They're like, damn, you're not. Listen, dudes nowadays have this like weird view where like if I just simp for her long enough, she's gonna like me. She is not noticing you, bro. I promise you. I promise you. You're gonna spend your whole time simping for her. She's gonna be with a dude that's not except for her at all. Guaranteed. That happens all the time.
That dude left that comment. He probably got off. Feels like, man, I'm gonna get all the ladies now. That's all that's for.
But it does not work.
Listen, this is the thing. This is the thing that dudes don't realize, and even sometimes ladies don't realize. The thing is, the simp is always gonna lose out eventually.
Yep.
The person who can't tell, like if a woman says, well, you might go to a sit down, a woman might ask you, you're thinking about marrying her or whatever, and you're like, so well, what do you think about gender roles or whatever? If you tell the lady, oh well, I don't really look at gender roles or whatever. I mean, it's basically, I'm all about making things easy, and Islam is supposed to be easy, and we're just, in a relationship, it's a partnership, and we're really supposed to just function and flow together, and you can't really even like define your own role or hers. She might like that in the beginning, and it might get you to get the girl.
Yeah.
But eventually women actually like to be led. They want a leader, and once they realize that you really aren't leading, you're just here, they're going to actually start
looking for a leader.
The guy who's gonna be more of a take charge person. As long as the simp is like caught in a perpetual, catch-22, because as soon as the simp decides, you know what, today I'm going to put my foot down, or today I'm going to take some charge. You know what I mean? He probably can't even take charge. You know what?
Nah, listen, I can guarantee you they don't know how to take charge at all, because it's like you said, they're stuck in there, but then they just stay there. Like, especially in my generation, like there was this dude who bought this girl a car on Twitch, and she called him a viewer. She didn't even say his name. Like so like this man did all that. He's over here in her chat. That's her every single day. I love you, queen. Yada. He buys her a Tesla, and she calls him some viewer in my chat. Like, listen, that man was hurt. All right, he was crying inside because he did all that for no reason. Like, so it never works out for you in the end. All right,
well,
I can promise.
And the
that.
thing is too, like for women, if you're thinking you want a man like this, do you want a son like this? I guarantee you don't. I guarantee you, when you think about your son getting married and your son's like, oh, Umi, I can't come visit you today. Wifey said I can't come over. You're gonna be like, what, son? Stay. Like, you're not gonna want that. Yeah. So if you look at the type of children you want to have, and then look to the type of person that you're marrying, because that's just most likely gonna happen.
I feel like girls who marry guys like that are low-key gay, but they can't just like be gay with it. So they just marry like the most feminine dude ever, and then just go with it.
Well, a lot of times what happens is when you have, like, for instance, like women that look for men like that, it usually come from some kind of background where maybe their parents, their father was like the extreme opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So then they look for the extreme opposite, but instead of find like the middle road, they go too far and get basically a punk, so we got Basil Al Fakir, the poor, who got no cash. He claims that he's broke or poor.
I'm feeling attacked.
I want to say same, bro. Jeez. Look at his wallet, bro.
Every husband in the world right
now. This is me right here, bro. Damn.
He claims he's broke before. Yeah, go ahead.
But in reality, he's just tight-fisted and miserly. Okay.
So he actually
Allah
has money?
Allah Almighty regards men as the guardians of their families, and states in the Holy Quran that men are the maintainers of women because Allah has made some of them to excel others. Hind, the mother of Muawiyah, radiallahu anh, said to Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Sufyan, her husband, is a miser. Am I allowed to take from his money secretly? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to her, you and your sons may take what is sufficient, reasonably, and fair. So I want to expand on this one, because I don't think the issue is the fact that he's poor. I think the issue is that he's tight-fisted. But regarding to the poor people, I would say beware of the poor person who uses Islam as a reason to be poor. Because I've seen people like, oh yeah, I'm just in the masjid praying, alhamdulillah, Allah's sufficient, he's gonna provide. It's like, okay, but when are you gonna go try to get a job? Never. I've seen people like that, especially from the backgrounds we come from. They use this like fake piety to basically stay in poverty, but because saying you want to stay away from somebody just because they're poor, in reality, like, you could do that. It depends on what you're looking for marriage, but there's a lot of poor people that are also very good husbands, and you could be missing out. But that is something, as a woman, you should be looking at. You want your husband to be able to take care of you. But when you say poor, you really have to think about what type of lifestyle that you're going to be comfortable living in. Not everybody is rich, not everybody's wealthy, but you have to consider that.
Yeah, and this is a classic case of so definitely a woman who is looking to get married. If the brother is single, then if he is legit, he's poor. So you have to look at the type of lifestyle that you are accustomed to, and what's literally just not going to let you be comfortable in a situation where you just, for instance, some women, they're used to going out to eat, at a restaurant. And listen, every time If I take my family out to eat, it's costing over $100, no matter what. No matter what, it's going to be $150, between $100 and $150 every time. So if you know, based on what you're used to, what the type of places you're going to go eat or whatever the case may be, if you know that if you don't go out to try this restaurant or that restaurant once or twice a week, then you got to look at that brother's finances. I mean, if he's working at Subway or or not working,
You got the
or
Subway.
maybe or
Do a slap on the way home.
yeah, or maybe they're just a student or whatever. That then you have to understand. Okay, maybe so either you're looking at this being a long-term thing, but if the person is, maybe he's 40 years old and his financial situation at 40 is probably that's you probably maxed out, or close to it. Now maybe he's in school or whatever, but you have to look at the situation. And this is where the wali, this is where the brothers, this is where that male representative comes in and can really give you the real lowdown. A man, when he wants to marry a woman, without lying, can make her believe anything.
Yep.
Anything. I mean,
So
she'd be thinking that, and then you're like, did you hear what he said? Yeah, he said, he really enjoys traveling or whatever. When I said I wanted to travel, he says, oh, he talked about all the places he loves to go. I said, yeah, but did he ever say that he was going to take you? He don't have no money. He's just agreeing with you. A man can literally, he can say all types of stuff, and the woman is like, yeah, he said. I'm like, yo, that's not what he said. So
Yeah.
you have to really look at what the person is able to do. And if that person does not have the financial means, he's not capable of putting you in a situation that you would be comfortable. And this is where it's very key for the fathers and for those representatives to come in and say, yo, you're the person who likes to buy a new dress or hijab or whatever, once a month, or you're going to the mall usually every week and buying something. You're spending $50, $75, $100 every week, of your father's money or your brother's money or whoever's money. And now if you're expecting your husband to do that, look at his finances. He can't afford that. So you should avoid that person. If that's something that you have to have. But I think that was one of the qualities that was on the list the last time of the type of woman you shouldn't marry. So these two people getting together would be a disaster.
But also, get divorced so fast.
But also, you made a good point about looking at it's all in context. So if you have two 18, 19-year-olds getting married, you're marrying somebody poor. That's a reality. So just think about that, and just the tight-fisted part of it. You want to marry a man that he not only understands his role and responsibility as being a husband and a father, that he actually takes pride in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see that good husbands, even if they are frugal, even if they are as far as they watch what they spend, they actually enjoy spending money on their wives and children. That's their thing. That's they live for. That's why we make fun of the older brothers that are walking around with Walmart Velcro shoes, but then their kids are wearing the best Nikes and best outfits and all that, because they don't really care what they're wearing, but their kids are living good lives. Their wives are living good lives. That's the type of man you want to look for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the other thing is also towards the end of this, and and then I would like to circle back around to the first point too, because there's something there. There's something there's more to the story, I think. But for the part where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam does tell Hind that she and her sons can take from Abu Sufyan's wealth what is sufficient, reasonable, and fair. Yes, this is a hadith. Yes, it is an authentic hadith. However, this does not mean that the woman can just say, well, if I feel like he's not giving me what I feel like me and the kids need, I can just go swipe, you know what I mean? And just buy whatever I want, whatever I feel is reasonable. It is not what the woman feels is reasonable. It is what in general is reasonable. And so reasonable based on, and that reasonableness is based on what the husband sees as reasonable, right? So you should have a conversation with your husband and then say, okay, these are the type of things that I need on a regular basis. Like I need food, you know what I mean? I need, you should pay the gas bill so we have hot water and not just cold water all the time. Like these type of things. Because some people do that. Well, y'all using too much electricity, so I'm not paying the gas or whatever. And then you just have cold water in the house. And things like that. So what is reasonable has to do with what the norms that are in the country that you're in, the norms that are in the economic status that your husband is at and your family is at, and the norms in which that had been set in your household, since the beginning. So if it's normal for you guys to buy the children name brand things or whatever, if your husband is not buying those things, then you can't just say, well, or vice versa. Like if it's a norm that he would buy, just the Walmart shoes or whatever, and then you say, well, you can afford, the Jordans or XYZ for me or the kids or whatever. You can't just make that decision unilaterally. You say, well, this is reasonable. Right. He just got a raise. You just got a bonus, a year.
It doesn't have to do more with like needs and not like wants.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think the line gets blurred a lot, because I won't even front. This hadith has been thrown at me many times.
Bank account looking a little light.
Yeah. Because this is what I always do. Listen, I always get an alert. Every time any money is spent. I always, give everybody access to the money. But as soon as a penny is spent, I see it. I'm like, yo, what was you doing at Walmart? Well, yo, what would you buy at Target? And sometimes it's like, yo, we needed this. I felt like we needed this, and it's not really a huge issue depending on the type of person you're with. So if your husband is going to be a person that's going to question you about what's spent, I mean, you tell him. But if they're going to be a person that's going to be angry about what's spent, you definitely should dial it back and make sure that you're not saying, well, this is reasonable. You know what I mean? Because I don't know that a man has ever just seen the bill after their wife just went shopping and they weren't there and was like, this is great. I mean, they always like, what did you buy? I mean, that's every time.
And when I've seen this hadith used, it's always been, or like not the hadith, but like this action used and then referring to the hadith, it's always been in spite. It's never been like, listen, our kids have no clothes. I had to get our kids clothes. It's always been like, nigga, I know you have all this money, so I went and bought blah, 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 blah. It's always been a spite move. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And so before we move on, just real quick, I won't give away all the secrets, but as far as the first point, he claims that he is broke and or poor, but in reality, he's just tight-fisted and miserly. Listen, sometimes the husband has laid out some objectives for his life and for his family's life and his family planning and any sort of things that he needs to do or additions that he needs to make down the line. And he's planned for that very strategically. And with those planning is monetary. You can't do anything in this world, in this life, without having money. And in this country, especially, things are very expensive. To have a household, at least one, is extremely expensive. I think it's one thing that we were talking about the other day about how, even if a person makes $100,000 a year, to maintain one family at $100,000 a year is, you can do it. Try doing two, it's hard. Yep. Anything more than that, I mean, so for a person, for a brother, and for a brother who wants to get married again, say he has one wife, or he wants to get a second wife. If you're making $100,000 a year and you're spending $100,000 a year, you'll never be able to do it. But if that's something that you have talked with your wife about before you ever got married? I mean, before I ever got married, even one time when I was a single man, that was just straight up. I just told him straight up. I mean, that's the deal. But so it wasn't an issue. But for a person who, and this is what I always tell brothers, never tell your wife that you're not thinking about getting another wife, even if you're not. Always say, yes, even before you get married, yes, I plan on getting a second wife. I plan on getting 4. Just tell them straight up. If
that's a young boy move.
No, some of them,
never, ever.
It's like, no, because then you create some false expectations. But at the same time, if you truly are telling yourself, listen, I want to have more than one wife, if you're spending $99,000 out of $100,000 that you make, you'll never be able to get another wife. Because guess what? You set a standard for the type of spending you're going to spend on one family. So when you get that second family, they're not going to live on $1,000 while your other family is living on 99. Nor is your first family ever going to be like, yo, we used to, we used to have, cable or whatever it might be, and now we don't have it. That would be oppression. So you have to plan strategically. If you're smart, you have to plan strategically, and you have to basically make sure that you have enough to add when you're able and when you need to add. And so I'll leave it there. The rest of it is going to be, behind closed doors. It's going to be our Patreon, our paid service. We'll show you exactly how to do it.
All right, what's the next one we got up? Waqas, he's the misogynist. He uses every ayah in the Quran and every hadith he can think of to be oppressor and demeaning to women, wife, sister, daughter, neighbor. It doesn't matter. He views marriage as a business. You are his baby making factory. Bare feet and pregnant. Speak when spoken to. Have my dinner ready. Type of man. He has no compassion for the women.
Yo, this is hitting home for someone. This is hitting home for someone, huh? It's crazy.
An attack, yo. I know I heard this before.
Oh my God.
So this is one. So like this I so everything in its extremes is bad. Yeah. It doesn't matter what quality you talk about. Like anything in the extremes is bad. So, but we got to be careful about the words we use nowadays because everything's like a buzzword. You got words like toxic masculinity, everything's misogynist. So we have to be careful about like, no, you want your man to be a man's man. That's what you want. I don't care what type of woman you want, you're gonna want your man to be a man's man, which means there's gonna have to be a little bit of misogyny characteristics in them. Right. Of course, you don't want them to be extreme. You want them to, you don't want them like, so for instance, then it says he has no compassion. Of course, you want someone that has compassion for you. But do you want a man that, doesn't want you to be a mother to children, that doesn't want a wife that's going to take care of his household? This kind of ties into the other ones. Are you going to want a husband that's going to be like, oh yeah, no, you could work and you support the household. I'll stay home. And you want a man that that has that natural instinct to be a provider, and take care of the household. But everything in extremes, of course, you want to stay away from.
Yes.
I mean, this is so like he uses every. Uses every eye in the
Oh, it's hitting home, huh? It's crazy.
I'm feeling the heat. No, I mean, listen, man. This is the thing. I think men do it. We do it to a certain extent because we are going to know all the ayahs that are going to favor whatever position or wherever you have. There's not just one ayah in Quran. There's not a set that are going to give you the things that are going to appear beneficial to the man and to keep the woman in check or something like that, or just keep them doing. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes what happens is, and this is a thing where you a woman is always going, if a woman marries a man who is he knows his way around the Quran and the Hadith, and he knows which ones to use in his favor, but she doesn't know any, and she's ignorant of that, then yeah, she if she's going to be a person that's not going to also, because there for every ayah in the Quran and for every hadith that seems like it's overly favoring the man, Islam is not like that. There's always the counter. There's always the balance for that. And if the man is only using those ayahs and the hadith that are going to push his agenda, and you are don't have the counters to that, and you just keep getting beat over the head with that, then I mean, it's a thing where you should raise your game, raise your level, and have the counters to that. That would help with that, I think. But if you are going to be, if a woman comes in a situation, and the thing is, a lot of people who are not educated in the religion as far as the baseline, like going to the marriage, certain things about marriage, certain hadith and ayahs of Quran and all those things you should know just as a baseline because you're married. It's not about being a scholar or even a student of knowledge or anything like that. But if you don't have any of those to rely on and to use and to help you, guide you through the marriage, then you're going to always be on the back foot. And it's always going to seem like a person is beating you over the head with him. When really it's what Allah says, and it's always a counter to it. There's always a balance to that. And you have to know that going in. If this is the type of person that is educated like that, then you should be ready to also have that in your arsenal as well. If you roll like that.
If the person's using, if he's using the Holy Quran, I think the biggest red flag would be is they're using the Holy Quran, and then you're using the Holy Quran, but they're not listening to your evidence, and they're only paying attention to what they want. That's just a sign of someone that's just like a narcissist, a manipulator, and just using things for their own favor. But then when you tell them stuff like, you're the provider of the household, why aren't you providing? Why aren't you paying all the bills? And they just ignore that. But then they're quoting the hadith like, you can't refuse me, you got to give me sex. Then there's a problem there. Like they're only caring about themselves. But the one part about the man being wanting his wife to be a baby making factory. Well, about Khalifa Umar radiallahu an, he had no interest in women besides to have kids. And one of the, I forget which wife it was that he took on as an extra wife, how they convinced him was like, hey, you can have more kids. And he was like, oh, yeah, I could make more kids. So like that was his only concern. So you got to know who you're marrying and what you're getting into and what the situation is. You might marry a man that really he just wants a bunch of kids. And if you know that going in, that's why you ask those questions during the sit downs, during the talks, to see what the expectations are in marriage. Because if you marry a guy and you're thinking like, yeah, I'm about to have one or two kids, and this guy's thinking he's about to put a football team up, then you should have got that information in the first place.
Yep. It was a brother we knew, right? He's been married a few times, and I think every single time he said, yo, I want 20 children. And every woman that he was talking to or whatever, they would say, yeah, but he was dead serious.
Why do laugh?
They would chuckle like, oh, they just think, oh, that's just so cute or whatever. But the dude was dead serious. So when it was time to have the kids, I mean, I was like, yo, I don't want all these kids. And so I think that the thing is, if you marry a person who is upfront about that they want children, and a lot of them, then you got to expect to be pregnant a lot. I remember my mother, I think for like a 20 years straight, for almost 20 years, she had a run where she was either pregnant, like had a stomach, or was nursing a child. For like she had a run. I think it might be a record or something. I don't know. She had a good run, and I think she had her last child when she was 41 or something like that, like 41 or 42, maybe 43. She was in her 40s, early 40s. But that's not every woman. That's not every woman can't do that.
Right.
But the thing is, women are going to be in their strongest, their strength as far as having children is going to be actually when they are in their teens and into their 20s. Once they hit about 30, that's when they, that is, you can still have children, of course, but my sister-in-law was telling me that when she got married at like 16, and she had two boys pretty close together, but she was saying that she was at 15, 16 years old. She was pregnant, 7, 8, 9 months pregnant, running, playing hide and go seek, riding bikes, doing, chasing, other girls around and, playing basketball, just doing normal stuff. I mean, so
Right.
at 40 years old, probably not, you're going to be feeling like, I mean, this is tough. When you're younger, I mean, it's easier. So I think
And then after 40, doesn't the chance of like
after 35
difficulties and all that stuff and like
after 35 years
skyrockets?
old, after 35 years old, actually it's geriatric pregnancy. Like that's that, like geriatrics is like old people, like in their 60s, 70s, 80s, like getting into geriatrics. They say in healthcare, geriatrics is for senior citizens and people who are on the back end of their life. So a geriatric pregnancy is when you're like really, I mean, you're supposed to be kind of like done by then, and there are more risks associated with having children in your 40s or whatever, but it's also harder. It is harder. It's not as easy. Now, if you're used to having children all the time, some people like they don't feel comfortable if they ain't pregnant, if they ain't not doing that. And but I get it, especially nowadays. I mean, that is a concern. I don't think a lot, and I think a lot of men nowadays don't want a lot of children either. So you're not really gonna have that problem. But if the person truly, as it says, only wants their women to be barefoot and pregnant, then that's probably a guy you probably don't want to be married to if that's all he wants. But I think a person can avoid that just by talking to the guy. And if he says, "Hey, yo, I want 20 children," you should believe him.
Or if he says, I want you, listen, I want a wife that's going to be home cooking, cleaning. I want dinner when I come home from work. I want, that's why you have those talks beforehand. So we have Faisal emotionally unavailable. He cannot support a woman when she's experiences life tragedies, whether it's death, parent, loss of job, etc. He's unable to fully appreciate the joys around him and has to be reminded what happiness is. His childhood was such that he is unable to communicate his emotions or support anyone else with theirs. This is probably the stereotypical male.
I'm about to say, what? This is damn near every guy ever in therapy. Who
been listening to my conversations?
It's sad to say. I mean, I get it, but we try. I mean, I'll say we try. But a lot of us men, especially African American males, I mean, we can get, this is like a deep conversation we can get into, but we don't have time. But to be a man, especially in this West, and to be African American man, to get to adulthood where you're married and trying to live life, you have already gone through a lot of bull crap. That to deal with that stuff, you have to be able to manage and turn off certain emotions. You have to be able to do that. But to be totally unavailable, I would just suggest, like, if a guy doesn't actually care about you whatsoever, he doesn't care about your feelings, like your parents died, and he's like, oh well, go ahead, get my dinner ready and get ready to make these babies. Like, then you have a problem.
That's a little bit extreme, but like for the average guy, especially like black men, like they don't open up to things at all, because majority of times when they do, it gets thrown in their face later on down the line in an argument. So it doesn't benefit them to actually go open up and start telling them their deeper traumas and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it usually so many times. I mean, just as usually growing up African American, we have a certain way of any weakness that you show or have, we're going to literally just roast you on it.
Exactly.
And so we're like kind of conditioned to basically like literally you cannot show that you're vulnerable. I mean, like just even growing up, like, like if you were just like weak and stuff, like anything that's not even like it's not even a bad thing. It's like, yo, if you were like you always was doing your homework, it's like
Oh,
look at
nerdy,
this, point
Nerd
Dexter,
ass
accountant,
nigga.
look at this accountant nigga over
Yeah.
here, man. Look at this smarty pants, you know what? Like, so anything was
Yep.
like anything that wasn't like I guess socially acceptable, whatever, you kind of had to, you know, be ready to either defend it or like you was going to get attacked or roasted for it. So I think in relationships, sometimes women can really kick the chair out from under a man without really knowing it. Like they will dash his dreams in a heartbeat. They'll be the number one hater. You can't do that. You'll never be able to do that. That's a bad idea or whatever. And then when they then turn around and have some issue, they want him to be, you know, the Dr. Phil, White Knight, you know, Fabio and all this, like, you know, I mean, sometimes a man and a black man might be emotionally unavailable because they might have been kicked down and kicked around so much that
to do so,
they're basically like, yo, I was on my own, so you be on your own now. You know, and I'm not going to deal with it. That's not everybody, but sometimes that does happen. I think the best way to, if you, because this was supposed to be people not to marry, but this sounds like some people putting together some stuff about their own husbands. So, these people are already married. You already married to this person.
Well, the thing is what
so I would say, just in short, I think the best way for this Faisal, the emotionally unavailable brother, probably would be the number one way to get that person to be available. A person like this to be available would be to, number one, make sure that you are putting that the energy that you're giving to the situation is one that their weaknesses or whatever issues that they might be having, they wouldn't be attacked for, or negativity would not be the order of the day whenever, you know, they're having whatever issues that you may or may not realize that they are some emotional things that they may be going through. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, then usually they may be more emotionally available on the flip side, but Allah knows best.
Yeah. And I would say we talked about this before, is also before you get married, trying your best to make sure that both of you are on the same wavelength, because your husband could be communicating to you or trying to express or trying to emotionally connect with you, but you have a different love language, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you know, your mother just passed away, or father just passed away, and you know, you expect him to be like cuddling you up in the bed or whatever, but this guy, he doesn't communicate his love that way. What he did is, hey, take the credit card, go shopping, because that's how he wants you to go buy things. He thinks that's gonna make you feel better, but you don't recognize that. But that's how he was trying to be there for you. So you have to make sure you're on the same wavelength with people that you're going to be with. What's the next one we have here? So Ibn has difficulty communicating. He has no skills in making his needs known or resolving conflict. Therefore, every challenge becomes overwhelming for him. He is unable to put his words, his needs, or verbalize things he does not like, which leads to constant confusion and discontent. So one thing I will just, before we get into this, most men are going to swallow their stuff that they don't like. They're not going to verbalize it, because that's just what we do. We're not going to complain about every little thing that comes out. Usually when our complaints come out, it's major, like as a result of like some big argument, things have built up for months or years or whatever, then they finally come out. But for the most part, men aren't going to communicate those things. I would even counter this and say, if you do find a man that he's just willing to complain to you about every little thing and say, yeah, I had a bad day about this and I don't like you doing this, then I don't know, you might be going into like the simp type of range. Mm-hmm. But
because basically that's I mean, he's basically you. It's like, he's basically gonna be more so like a woman than a man.
Yeah. So, but like, yeah, I can see like the bad communication part of it, and that could be someone who's maybe like been spoiled growing up, always had his way, doesn't know how to deal with difficulty, those sorts of things. But yeah, communication is a big thing in any marriage. And if you're sitting down with somebody, looking at somebody to get married, like you got to gauge how well, when you have those conversations, how well you guys are able to communicate.
Yep.
What's the next one we got?
And just real quick, I feel like I'll go next one.
Mhm.
I feel like for a lot of girls, they don't understand how guys communicate, and so they're not able to pick up on those cues. A lot of guys' communication is nonverbal, and girls don't read that at all because they only want to hear words. So yeah,
You only want to hear words.
you know,
And just for everybody, what is it? 70% of all communication is nonverbal.
It's 55,
So,
but yeah,
55. Okay, so yeah,
it's that
pay
job
attention
for
to the nonverbals.
Rashid, the liar.
We got
Nothing
Rashid
he
again,
says
the
is
liar.
ever true. Yeah, but he can't admit it. He lies about where he's been, what he ate, who he talked to, and larger things. This guy will gaslight you before he admits that he lied yet again. You're always on. You're always on shifting ground with it.
Yo, and there really are people like this, and the things they lie about is stuff that they don't even need to lie about. You're like, oh, honey, did you go to Walmart? No.
No.
Who told you that?
You
Well,
did.
Your phone did, and like my mother's seen you there, and you talked to her. I don't know why she said you're crazy.
A lot about unnecessarily, or like there's food in the fridge and it's gone. So she comes home. Do you eat the food in the fridge? No, I eat the food in the fridge. Where'd it go then? No, I don't know. You can just lie just cause.
Nothing he says is ever true. I mean,
But
There's
no,
a chronic liar.
I know one brother, right? And he's a good brother, but for some reason he has this real secretive like personality where he just has to keep everything like it's like 007. It's like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Why do you want to know? Like, dude, I'm just trying. But that's how he is. He's even worse like that with his wives. Like everything's a secret. He doesn't want anybody to know what he's doing, talking about him. So those secrets turn into like, they can be perceived as lies. So, but yeah, if you run into someone who's a liar, and like you're having sit downs with somebody, and again, this is where the wildies come in, because listen, we're built a certain way, right? A lot of guys have game. They're going to be able to tell you any story, and you're like, oh yeah, and then your Wally's going to be sitting in the background like, nope,
nah,
that nigga lying.
Yeah, brother. I remember one brother, right? He was marrying a sister. They were engaged, and this is the thing, and he was a mature brother. He was older. He wasn't like a young kid or whatever. He'd been married before, or whatever. But the lady had, the first red flag is he needed money for him to marry her. So she was sending him money to get the place set up or whatever he needed for the house. So literally she bought she paid for the housing and she paid for the accommodation. She was sending the money to him so he could set it up for where they were going to live with him. This was bad. I don't know who her Wally was, but this was ridiculous because he said, well, she's paying for everything, setting everything up. Move your behind up here. You should move here because she's, but so anyway, she sent the money down or whatever. She was working and sending it down every 2 weeks. Bam, sending it down. And when she finally tried to check on how the progress was going or whatever, homeboy was spending it. he was just like buying other random stuff or whatever, and buying stuff for his other kids, and just saying, well, I had run into some trouble with the bills, and so I spent it on that instead, and I was going to pay you back.
Oh my gosh!
This should have been a red flag. Should have been like, yo, she should have bounced, and this is the type of, because basically he said he was going to do one thing with the money, he did something else and didn't even tell her until she checked to see what the progress was. She was thinking, man, I got this nice setup or whatever, and he spent the money. This is an example where what she should have done was she should have broken the joint off right there and went ahead and tried to sue him to get the money back. But he went ahead and married him. And if you're wondering how it turned out, yes, she got divorced pretty quickly after that and fled back to where she came from. Luckily without, any serious harm. But yeah, the relationship did not go. It was we could do a whole year series on how that relationship went. But the point is, she should have bailed as soon as he was found to have been a liar.
Yeah.
But she went ahead with it anyway. So
Well, good advice for this is women, don't marry a project. Y'all like trying to save us men, and like you're gonna like fix us after
It's
you
not
get
gonna work.
married.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. You're not gonna like. It's not gonna work. You know, men. A lot of men are dirtbags, and when you recognize the dirtbag in the man, just pay attention and go ahead and save yourself the trouble and move on. It doesn't matter if he had a nice smile or he had a good job or whatever thing that's making you like, oh, I'm gonna make this one work. No, you're not. You're not. He's gonna stay the same, especially when you're looking at, maybe women that's been married before that are older in age and these sorts of things. If this guy's 30, 40 years old and he still can't hold down a job and he's still those things aren't going to change. They're not going to change.
Yeah. For a lot of girls, they feel that because they've taken like a psych class, one class, right? They're now like qualified to go change a man's entire life. Like I promise you, you're not gonna be his therapist or psychologist. All right, like he's a listen. Guys are master manipulators.
At least they took a psych class. You got some people these days. They just watch a YouTube video and they like diagnosing. They diagnose a narcissist and this person is gaslighting and all these new terms they throwing around. It's like, yo, you watched a YouTube video that you can't even understand nor explain. How are you all of a sudden a psychologist?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like at least if a person like took a class and like at least passed one test in the semester, then I would be like, all right, at least you could know something.
Nah, but Psych 101 though. See, this niggas that like I talk to people and like just from being a senior in college to a freaking freshman, right? The freshman psychology majors, they're all idiots. So, like just imagine a girl, right? She took in one class one time, or as Mark said, she's taking a YouTube video. She watched some video from some doctor who's not accredited somewhere, and now she's like, well, clearly you have OCD and you have and I mean you're very anal about this girl. You have no idea what that means. You're just spewing terms out loud because it sounds cool to you.
They literally everything is you're projecting.
Yeah.
Or you're gaslighting. You're always doing one of the two. They can fit anything. It's like, yo, you didn't clean the bathroom after you made a mess in there. Hey, you're projecting. Yeah. No, you were the last one in there. You're gaslighting.
Oh yeah, Lord, no, it's 100% true.
You're so toxic.
Yeah, toxic. Yeah, that's toxic. Toxic, projecting, and gaslighting. Boy, if I had a nickel buried.
And misogynist. All right.
All right, and Mr. 50-50. So this ties in with the one guy there that is with this whole modern view of, what a relationship should be. So I think we can sum this one up. If you're talking to a man or interested in a man and he's God, what's the word? Like this modern idea of what a relationship should be, or what a marriage should be.
We split the bill.
You want to stay away from this type of person. We're Muslim, and if you're talking to somebody and they're already talking about like 50-50, we can work together. We can split the bills, and you want a man that's going to want to take care of you. Now, every situation is different, and every woman might not be in the same situation, but you at least want a man that has that mindset that I want to be the one that's going to take care of my family. They want it. You got to have that mindset. You might be a woman that's very well off and you don't need a man to do that, but at least you want a man that thinks like that, because it's going to translate into a lot of different things of how they carry out or act in their marriage.
Yeah. And you do, and this would be for the woman who is like they want the traditional setup. The man, funds the operation. The woman supports him in, helping him get through his day-to-day, needs or whatever. And in return for her supporting him, he pays for everything. But there, I mean, there are situations, especially nowadays. I mean, it's wild now. They literally basically they have where women now, Muslim women are basically just like, I got my own, everything, business, whatever they got, and literally they just want, just male companionship, but they don't want to have to be obligated to be a certain place, be in a certain house. They want to stay in their own digs or whatever, but they want some intimacy, and that's basically it. I was, that's the story of another day. But for that person, that might work. But for the person in the traditional, what the traditional husband wife set up, run from that person. That even mentioned some 50-50 split.
Yeah. We got one more person that we forgot to mention. It's Abdul Fattah. He's the new Shahada. He's been taking his Shahada. I messed up on the list somehow. But this person's been Muslim, took their Shahada, but you never see him at the masjid. You never see him at the Eids. You never see him doing anything Islamic, but they're Muslim. So this could show in someone that just not practicing their Islam. It's not to say that like every person that's going to get married is going to be like a scholar and sheikh and but at the same time, like you have to look at the religiosity of the person that you're married, because that's what this whole thing's about. You can marry someone that has a great job, and if they're not making salat, if they're not fasting and all that, like what's the point? Because you're married to each other so that both you guys can help each other get to Jannah. That's the goal. That's the whole goal of everything we're doing. So if you're not working towards that, then I don't know, I think you're just spinning your wheels.
All right, mashallah. You should definitely marry someone who is, I mean, they don't have to be like a student of knowledge, but they should be trying to improve their Islam in some way, from wherever they're currently at. And I mean, if they're not there the level you want to be there at, then probably don't marry that person. Like I had my sister had a friend who was married to someone, and he was like Islamic, and then after some time passed, he was like, I figured like when I stopped practicing, you would as well, and then just leave with me. And it's like,
oh my gosh,
that's not how it works. So you want to avoid that guy whenever possible. So I think we could get to the questions, inshallah.
Well, look, while we get the questions, can you pull up the thing for the one Ummah so people can see that real quick?
Yes.
I could talk about that real quick while we get to compile the questions. Wait, what happened to?
Where did Zoom go? Oh, okay. Okay, here you go.
All right. So we have wait, go back one slide.
Oh, my bad.
There we go. So we have the one Ummah. And they're working on trying to get some legislation passed. There's a Zoom call. There's a Zoom link. It's a very long link, but we just want to make it go to their website, oneumma.info, to get information. They're doing a lot of great initiatives, trying to make sure that all the food in Virginia is actually halal and certified halal, and not people just falsely labeling food halal. So go to oneumma.info to check out the information and get the Zoom link and to sign on to the Zoom just to show your support. The next show is going to be in 2 weeks, and it's going to be October 5th, I believe. 6th. It is 6th. And we're going to talk about in depth the emasculation of men and the emasculation of women. So that's that. Do we know what questions do we got?
We have a question about can y'all talk about the man who doesn't think he has to ensure his wife is satisfied in the bed? That's for y'all too, because I'm a virgin, so I believe this.
Oh wait, wait, ask that again. What's the question?
Can y'all talk about the man who doesn't think he has to ensure his wife is satisfied in the bed? This is for y'all.
Thinks he doesn't have to ensure that his wife is satisfied in bed. So, gosh, I don't know if we have to do a different show for this one, but okay. I do not, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, I do not believe that the man it's not his job to satisfy his wife in the bed.
No,
That's
actually,
a very subjective
no,
term.
actually, no, it is. If he can, he might not be able to, but
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But it is his job. He actually has to try. He has to try.
Okay, yes, that's okay.
It's not permissible for, and the hadith says that a man should not, hurry to satisfy himself without.
Oh, I got you. I got what you're saying. So you're talking about
So
someone
it
who's
actually,
just handling his
it
own
actually is.
business.
Yeah, it's an obligation. It's an obligation. And there's certain details. I mean, like sometimes, how do I say it? It's hard. This is a hard one to just breeze over, but sometimes there's different situations. Sometimes one party is needing some attention, the other person is not. So eh,
I'm just loving how you're trying.
We can just do this later.
I'm sitting here with a bag.
yeah, we can do this later. They asked, how to spot a fake when they claim to live across the country. When y'all sit down, he appears to be legit. So how do you identify these liars?
You need a man. You need a man to help on the sit down. I would think the person should have to go through at least one, but like usually, I mean, we like in the past, like for us, like my sisters have 6 brothers and a dad, so usually they gotta get through at least 2 to 3 dudes, then their dad, then our dad. Like, so it's like it's almost like, so usually everybody's not in that situation where they don't have like older brothers, because all of the girls in our family are the youngest. They're the last 2, just 6 boys and then 2 girls at the end. But in short, yeah, you want to run that guy through at least one. But if you can run them through multiple men who know you, and who have some experience, kind of talking with them, dealing with them, or that know them, that would be the best way. That way, that some of these fakes and jokers that we went through today, they won't even get to you. They actually won't even get the chance to be like where you're actually considering them. Your dad or your brother or uncle or whoever has already shut him down. Like, yeah, this guy's a joke. Don't even give him the attention.
Yep.
You got to have a good vetting process for your life, especially if you're planning to marry this person or get in serious talks with this person. So it should be a priority you have, because as a girl, you're just not going to pick up on subtle things that guys are going to do that we just know. Because like, as guys, we kind of all play the same game and we kind of run the same playbook, and it generally works. So like, just tell her what she wants to hear. And it's like, okay, well, it worked then. She's like, oh my God, he's so kind. We're not really that kind.
For people that are looking to get married, you really want to rely a lot, especially for this is advice to women, and it'll help protect the men too. Really rely on your wali to do a lot of the communication, a lot of the judging and vetting, because a lot of people think that, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do it, we're going to have a billion conversations before we get married, and I'm going to figure it all out, whether I want to, like, they look at the engagement period as like a dating period, right? Where if you just relied on a wali to kind of just weed these people out before you even get to that point, before you get to the point where like you like this guy so much because you guys have been talking so much, but then they finally get to your wali and the wali's like, nah, man, this guy was a clown. This guy is this and that, like, and starts, just use your wali, do it how Allah said to do it, and it'll save you a lot of problems.
Yep.
And go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say we have a question about how do we feel about halal matchmaking websites? I'm personally against.
It's the way to go nowadays, unfortunately.
I would say that actually it's a great way of weeding through the things that you don't want and getting outside of like some of the emotional things. Like sometimes you when you are face to face with a person, and this happens to men a lot. Face to face with a person, with a woman, or even if you're in a situation where you might be even like sometimes you get trapped on an elevator with a woman for a couple floors or something like that. Something weird happens where your brain doesn't really work that well, and they start looking better than they actually are. Then
This nigga is the worst.
I'm just being real. Just telling you, that happens sometimes.
I love this, brother.
Like, but then, so the thing is, sometimes with that distance of like the internet, and they're like away, and you're kind of just reading about, what they're about or whatever. Most of the times, I mean, people be just like, they be writing novels about what they allegedly are. They don't
I'm
even be
about to say.
But at least you can put some distance between just like, being face to face with a person and have to deal with that energy that's kind of like pulling you towards them when they might not be, but then it might not be good for you. I mean, that's one way. The other way, like I said, is you put somebody between you. You have a Wally or a person who, even if a person is your representative, is on like my one of my brothers. I actually went on a halal dating website, a matchmaking website, marriage website, right? And I made the profile for him. He never even logged in. He never saw it. I went through all the profiles, talked to all the people, and then eliminated the ones that I didn't think were good for him. Found a few that I liked or whatever, narrowed it down. Then the one that I thought, okay, this would be good for him. Then I presented it to him. Okay, this is the lady XYZ, whatever. What do you think? He was like, okay, she looks okay to me. She was like, great. And they, alhamdulillah, happily ever after. But that's one way. But you have to be able to trust that person. Like my brother trusts me, but if you don't trust the person, they might bring you somebody like, nah.
Yeah.
Abort.
That's a good point. Like you have to put, like, it's there, and you have to recognize the times we live in. Not everybody is in a strong, abundant Muslim community where there's a bunch of families that know each other, and who's available and who's not, and all that. And the only means is through these online channels. But you have to take precautions. You have to do your due diligence when you get into things. Don't jump on there and just start what they get, swiping right on everybody.
Yeah. And the thing is this, man. I think what happens a lot with women, this is what I would say to, if I could say one phrase, one sentence about women, how to avoid all these lists of people that we talked about, how you shouldn't marry and these issues and the XYZ, is that sometimes women, you wind up scraping the bottom of the barrel because you were so, like, we used to sing a song when we were kids. One of the, like, it literally was a one verse, one chorus, one phrase song. How can you be picky when you're almost 50? We used to say this about women because they'd be so picky that you're not going to get married till you're 50. And believe me, I think this person we sung this song about is almost 50 today, and I don't think she's married. Why? Lots of brothers asked to marry her, and it had to be perfect. Perfect, and she turned so many people down and was never married. And so sometimes it is a matter of, sometimes people get too picky, but really what it is that women should, instead of waiting for brother so-and-so to come out of thin air or whatever, you got to identify the type of person, type of man you're looking for, and you have to, the woman has to shoot her shot. You have to shoot your shot. Don't sit around waiting and thinking brother so-and-so is going to ask to marry you or whatever the case may be, because nowadays the pickings are slim, and you'll wind up with one of these dudes that we had on the list because he's still available. And that's the dude that, while you're waiting around talking about, trying to be picky and find Mr. Perfect, eventually you're going to settle for one of these guys and you're going to be mad. So what you do is, if you see or can identify what you like, when you see someone who has that, just shoot your shot. Have your people go talk to that brother and ask that brother, where is he interested? All they can do is say no, but at least you don't have to be thinking, about whether or not, and just keep shooting your shot until you find the one that quality person that you want. But if you wait around, like you said, it might be 50 and still looking.
Yep.
We have one more question, and then hopefully we can wrap up. Which dating sites are the best for this process?
I have no idea.
I mean,
have no idea. I've been married for the last 20-something years of my life. I have no idea.
I haven't used any of them because, I mean, despite what Mubarak and Jaffer said, I don't actually believe any of that garbage. For majority of it, it's just like two single folks talking, chatting un-Islamically about how they're going to get married. And we know that if you're chatting just one-on-one, the third party is the devil. So that's generally what happens from what I know of that happens on. It's just niggas just talking. Like they don't actually further their like quest to get married. They're just talking to just random girls.
Yeah. Actually, as a person who is an expert in this area, it's not actually like that. There's plenty of there's actually ones where you actually like when I helped my own brother. He was never talking to anyone.
Yeah, so I know. You're an exception to the rule, I feel like.
Yeah, the people who do it like legitimately, they would have usually they would have a go-between, and the women usually almost like the ones who I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of ones you're talking to their dad. So you would be talking to their father, or their one of their representatives, or they would actually also be monitoring or seeing the conversation. It's just like one of my sisters is looking to get married or whatever, and so we just set it up to where all the communication is there. The people may be speaking to one another, but the communication is always monitored, and so they set it up the same way.
Okay.
But I've known, I heard of stories of, and it's with anything, whether it's online or in person or whatever. There's people that are out there that are they're I call them tasters. Like they're just out there to just take advantage of women, talk to women, maybe hook up with women and just move on to the next one. Like that's the importance of having a Wally or somebody else that can spot these guys and get them out of there. So even if you're going to go the online route, it doesn't take away the requirement of having someone represent you.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
I think we're done, Masha.
We're have to create a Patreon account to because especially like that one question.
I would not be there. I don't think. Yeah, that
takes some detail. There's some nuance to that. We'll be talking for the rest of the night about that joke. But yeah, that's no. But seriously, actually, if someone is seriously having an issue with that, they can email us. It would be what's it called? Anonymous. It would not a thing that
confidential and
it'd be confidential. If we can help with the situation and be more detailed or explicit or whatever, then we'll do that. If or any other question that we didn't get to, if someone doesn't want to ask it, in the comment section, they can email us. It would be confidential, and we would try to deal with it as best we can. If we can't, we can always connect you to the shuyukh, the sheikhs that we know or whatever, and then they could possibly take it from there. So
well, you know what, and I don't want to extend the show, but that idea, that thought of like the woman's not supposed to get pleasure, right? It's not the man's job to pleasure his wife. It comes from some cultural stuff. It also comes from some like cult type deviant Sufi type beliefs. Like for instance, in our old cult, our sheikh has discourses talking about how intercourse is not for pleasure, it's just to have kids and these sort of things. So there is this wrong mindset that some men might have been taught that this is like an Islamic thing, and they're just misguided and taught the wrong things coming up. So but anyway,
culture, you can religion, race, net, whatever. I don't know no person in their right mind that's gonna lay down with another person and think they not supposed to have a good time too. Like literally, you just gonna stop and be like, that ain't my job. You
think about the Africans that they that's what the whole female circumcision thing's about.
Yeah.
But like because I think with that, they don't want the person to think about that. But if a person's like, yo, I was almost home, bro. Then you can't be like, well, it ain't my job. That's like, a person like, and that's what I am, without trying to be too explicit. That's at least that's what I thought from the.
No, there are men like that.
They do not. So they actually just they want to have a good time, I guess. But they don't want the woman to like.
Don't want their woman. Yes. Yep.
I don't know. I got to look into that.
I'm telling you, look into that. That's where that's where the whole thing for female circuit, those African countries and cultures that do that.
Yeah.
That's where it all stems from.
But my thing is that they don't even want you to be. They not wanting them to even think about it. But I'm like, if a person knows, like a person taps them, like, hey, yo, there's more work to be done here, and they just like, nah.
Even some Christian like cultures have that belief as well. They're not supposed to enjoy it. I'm telling you, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but if you guys are listening, if you're one of these guys, fix yourself.
Yeah.
Even though you might not be any successful, but fix yourself. That's you guys subscribe to our fake Patreon account.
Our fake Patreon we're not gonna ever make.
Right.
Join the R2F chat. That'll get you there.
Yeah.
That'll get you some behind the scenes exclusives. But yeah, we don't have any more questions. So we'll close out, inshallah. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Assalamu alaikum.
All right.